The Senza version 2 has just been released, and my opinion is it's a superb and probably the best choice for DE1 owners, both for newbies and for advanced users. There's so much to cover in just one video, so I'm just going to skim over a few things that I like a lot and things that I think that will be useful to most people. One of the things that should be mentioned up front is that Decenza not only operates on almost any device like Android, iOS, Windows, Mac. There's also a supporting remote app, which I think it's called a Pocket app, which I use every morning to turn on the machine before getting out of bed, so it's nice and warm when I get downstairs. There's also a super powerful web app, which works on a browser, any old browser, which allows you to back up and restore your data, customize your themes and layouts, create recipes, add beans, do all sorts of amazing stuff. And you can do this all from your desktop, even with DE1 tablet is on sleep mode. It doesn't matter, it still works. So I like that a lot. It's just a really nice way to tweak things and to do stuff. And even look at past shots. I can have a look at the shots and stuff. The interface itself is highly customizable. There's lots that you can do in the sort of the layouts and the colors. Every sort of element you can change the color and set it up the way you like it. Icons as well, and you can also have, if you wanted to, the background over here covered with the image of your last shot. Which is okay, but I kind of like the neatness of this interface here. As you see, the little blue milliliters is glowing there, telling me that my volume levels are getting a bit low. So duly noted. I'll have to take care of that next time I do a shot. One of the things I really used to dislike about the Decent software was the bittiness of data made by different people, and I found it to be very disjointed and unintuitive, and actually very limited. I never really felt that it was easy to compare shots, to use the information to make a decision about my next shot. That's really primarily what I was wanting to do, and I just didn't find it did it well. Whereas Decenza for me is the best that we have at our disposal at this point. It's kind of made a breeze to compare shots with, so as you can, for example, if you go to history, tap on history, and you got all these shots over here, you can just tap on any number of shots here and go compare. And then once you're in comparison mode, there you can see the graphs overlaid on top of each other. You can see the data over there, and further down here you can see the data spread out in a chart over here. So it's super easy to kind of make those choices, but also not only just make those choices like that, because these are just the last 3 shots that I did. You can do a tremendous amount of filtering and sorting. So, for example, if I went to, let's just go, for example, Yurgachev, I don't have to type the whole word. I just go Yur and space. And maybe I want to go, say, to D-flow, so I'll just type in flow. Flow. And now I can tap this keywords button up there. You see that keywords button? And now I want to go by time. I want to say I want all those shots, because basically over here I had 50 shots found. So that's way too many. Actually, no, it's 105 found. So it's way too many. So I'm just going to go, I want all of them that are within, say, for example, 29 to 30. And there we go. So now it finds me 7 different shots that have those parameters. They're all Yurgachev, they're all D-flow, and they're all between 29 and 30 seconds. Now if I wanted to have a nice little look at them, so see the arrow on the right-hand side there, if I tap that arrow, it takes me to those 7 shots that I've filtered. And by swiping like this, I can look at one shot by one, compare the graphs, and scroll this way and have a look at the data as I want to, and just keep on scrolling like this until I've got the information that I need to make a decision. Again, I can look at the grind, compare the grind side. This is grind 21, grind 22. So you can get useful information really quickly, which I don't believe you can do on any other system. Decenza really has nailed it with this one. Now going back to the history over here, if you look at these buttons on the right-hand side, load, recipe, then there's an E, then there's an arrow. The arrow is to browse them. The E is to edit them. And then the recipe means that if you tap that, it's going to make a new recipe based on the details that you have in the shot. So all the details that are in this shot over here are going to become a new recipe. And if you go to load, it means that your next shot is going to have those parameters. So say, for example, over here, you look, I've got Colombia, Indonesia blend. This is over here. This here is called a shot plan. And that's the data for the next shot. But now if I'm in the history and I've found this deflow thing and I've got this Indonesian Colombian mixture over here that I like, and I want to just load that, then you can see it's changed to that. It's got exactly the information that I've just tapped on. The deflow has been selected, Indonesia blend. So it's a very powerful way of just looking at information, deciding what you want, and applying it for your next shot without having to remember anything or do anything. It's just one tap and you've loaded it. Superb. So one of the new things about the Decent software, there's quite a few have added recipes. And the way that Decenza deals with this is really good. Recipes are containers which contain all the options for your shot, so that when you do a shot with a custom recipe, the results are exactly what you had last time. And you can change from one type to another type. So, what about when you're dialing in a new bean? Often when you've got a new bean, you kind of like, you're sort of trying to get the right grind setting, and it's a new recipe, but you have to be able to make changes to the recipe based on dialing in, making changes daily. So Decenza makes it really easy. You can see down here, there's this little widget down here that says grind. If I tap on that, it's going to allow me to change my grind setting for my recipe, for my next shot, but also for my recipe. Before I actually go on to showing you how the grind changes, I want to show you something which I don't think any of the other softwares can do, which I think is just fantastic. So this is the shot that we were looking at here. This look at my history over here. It was this shot over here. It's got 64%. If I tap on the E button for editing, I could have gone to my last shot, because it actually was my last shot. You can see it's grinding quite fine over here. This was a little snafu there with my portafilter kind of coming undone. But anyways, it's ground too fine. I just marked the taste over here as a bit bitter, and the body was actually medium. It wasn't even heavy. It was just medium. And it didn't taste that bad. I gave it 64%. So now with what you can do with Decenza, you go to AI advice. You tap on that, and I'd asked it, what about this shot? Where's it gone here? You see, I just said, and what do you think? Having done that, it says, okay, let me analyze your shot. So it tells me I did this shot like this back then, and I did use this grind setting of 17 and 18, but now I've changed to 16, and it's tasting bitter. And it says the trend is clear. I've ground finer and finer. Basically, it says I've ground too fine. At the bottom, it says I recommend grinding coarser to reduce the extraction and shorten the shot duration. Bloody bar. So it basically gives me really good advice. And if I wanted to ask it what specific grind setting I could use on my grinder, it will do that, because it builds its knowledge based on your previous shots. So once it has some information about your shots and your grinder, when you are trying to dial in and you haven't got something quite right, or you want to just change from one preset to another preset that's very different, it's going to give you advice on the actual grind size on your grinder, which is fantastic. So this one actually says to me, let's aim for a setting of 17 again. So it knows that, it knows what my grind settings are, which is amazing, really amazing. So let's go back to the home screen then. So now we're back here, and we see that it says 16, and I want to go for 17. I'm going to take its advice. Instead of going all the way into my recipes and editing my recipes, I just tap on grind size, and I just change it to 17. And there we go. You see it says 17 on my shot plan for my next shot. But if I go to recipes, and I press and hold and I go to recipes, you can see it's changed it to 17 there. So Decenza has made it super easy for you to dial in your recipe, because it's kind of how users will work. They might get a new bean, they create a recipe for it, but their first shot or first few shots aren't exactly right, and you're tweaking it. So you're tweaking it without having to go into editing mode and find the recipe and then find the right parameter and then click on it and then edit it. You just tap on there and you edit it. Super easy. So let me just go further into the recipes, why I say it's so nice on here, other than that, which is great. Once you press and hold on recipes, you come into the editing mode of recipes. And say, for example, I want to create a new one. So the way that Decenza works is it works on the type of drink that you're going to have. Now, the whole purpose of that is that when you're doing, so say, for example, you're having a latte. Most people who have a latte will have milk, but they don't need a setting for the amount of hot water you're going to add, because generally they're just going to have milk. But I'm not like that. I have milk with my milk and water with my latte. So the Decenza will ask what kind of drink you're having. So it might be an americano. So we're going to add recipe there, and it's going to ask me what kind of drink I'm going to have. So for me, mine is latte with hot water there. So I'll just tap on that. Then it asks me which beans am I using. It shows me the beans that I currently have in stock. I have archived some, so they're not visible. I could add the archived ones if I wanted to. And I'm going to say choose this Zambian one over here. And it asks me which profile. I might go for Cremina, but maybe I'll just go for a D-flow one. So I'll just go flow. And there, just tap FLO, and I've got a whole bunch of A flows and D flows. And the one that I usually use is this 42 one. And this is my basket. So also the AI is eventually starts learning about your different baskets. So if you have different baskets and different grinders that you use, it'll learn those things. So my equipment that I'm using right on this particular shot is using this particular basket with this particular grinder. So I tap on that. And it asks me what yield do I want. Do I want to increase the temperature? If it was like very sour, I might go plus on the temperature there, which would change the recipe. So it's a little bit different from the profile. So the shot profile might still have 88 degrees, but because I've decided with that recipe I want it to be 94 or something, I could do that. Grind setting over here. If you tap on it over here, it'll bring up the grind widget, this is how it goes for me. Mine's 1400, and I don't know what exactly grind setting is. Probably going to be 18 or so. And then I go to continue, and asks me about steam because it knows that I want to do some milk. So there I want to go to 80 milliliters, and it asks me hot water, and I know that I want to have 70 mils of water, and I go to review to check how that all looks. And this is all the properties of that particular recipe. And I can save it. And now it's saved. You can see this is it here. And it's ready to go. If I want to pin it as the recipe that by default comes on, so for example, I want to make life easy for somebody living in my house who doesn't like the use of the machine and they want to make their coffee easily, I can just push this little icon over there, which will mean that it's auto-loading. For example, after 5 minutes, it's going to basically auto-load that again, which is kind of clever. I'll disable that. And actually, I'll delete this, so I don't want it. All right, so here we go, back to the home screen. On the home screen, you have all these different buttons, and you can have a lot more of them if you wanted to, but these are the ones that I need and want. And if you tap any of them, they give you the kind of parameters that you can choose from underneath. So over here, I've just got two that I've got, one for me and one for my wife. That says 70 grams. That's 140, I think, for her. If I press and hold here, it gives me the information about the different shots. Yeah, it's 140 for my wife and 70 for me. And you can change the temperature. You can press plus there and add as many presets as you want. And that's going to just show up on the home screen when you tap that there. You can order them the way you want, and steam is the same. You can have, I've got different steam settings there, and flush is the same sort of thing. The buttons that I've added on my interface suit me really well, and the one that I love a lot is the shot review, bottom right corner here, which gives me a detailed snapshot of the last shot. So press that. It tells me where the channeling, if there were any channeling problems. So up top over here, on shot summary, it actually says puck was stable, no channeling spikes in DC DT. That's a parameter that it reads from the machine, and which can tell it if there's channeling or not. Verdict, clean shot, puck held well. So that's great. The AI would detect and lets you know if there's a problem. In fact, it'll make a little red mark if there's I think there'll be some sort of button that comes up there if there's been a problem. So this is where pressing that button will give you the ability to rate your shot and then ask your AI, as I showed you earlier, what you think of it, what AI has to say about it. And I've just changed the temperature there. Right, and now I wanted to show you the settings, which are really quite deep, and I'm going to rush through them because there's just too much stuff to go through. But you can see all the different things listed up here, also very clean and well laid out. You can search anything you want. So, for example, you want to search out Bluetooth stuff, BLU, and there it shows you the two things. There's the scale and refractometer settings or setup, and then the machine setup. So those are the ones that are available on Bluetooth. So say, for example, I look at connections over here. It tells you it's connected. When we go to machine, it gives you the data about the battery charging, the steam heater, the sort of theme mode. The background choosing thing over here is whether you want to have a last shot. You can see that you can actually put the last shot in the background. Water level and when you want it to be warning you, etc. Whether you've got a refill kit, calibration, the flow calibration, virtual scales, steaming stuff. History and data is pretty cool. This is where you can choose to back up and share your data. So if I've got my PC on, which is not right now, I'll be able to import from another device. So I'd tap on import from another device, and I'd search for devices. Well, I probably won't find anything now because it's off. But it'll show me my PC there. Then I can choose to import just the shots or or the settings or the profile, or profiles, all the different types of things that I could potentially import. I can choose from. I can also import from a zip file, or a folder, or from the DE1 app. So there's absolutely no reason for any user to not have Decenza running on their systems as well as the DE1 app, because you could have both. And I'm guessing you'd probably want to spend more time in this, but that's my guess. And the daily backup, which I don't use either, but you could, which is pretty cool. Ability to share data and exporting shots to JSON files. You can mirror all your shots to JSON files, making it really easy for sharing with anybody. Themes and layout are very powerful, but they actually are more powerful when you're actually using the web app, which is a PC, which is a web browser-based app, which I'll show you a bit. So basically, there's all the different parts of the interface and how they're going to be affected. On the browser version, it's actually better because when you tap on a color, they have a kind of a picture of your interface there, and it sort of highlights the area that refers to, which is really nice. Layout does the same sort of thing. You can customize all the buttons and stuff. And for example, the shot plan, which is the middle section there, I can choose which elements I want to show. I've hidden roaster because I roast my own coffee. I don't need to know it's me. So this is kind of your layouts and stuff, which you can also add to a library and share with a community, which I haven't used a lot of, but it's also there. Screensaver, you can have video screensavers or dim ones, whichever type of thing you want. The one I've got, which I really like, is just quite simple. So it's like that. So it's just the DE1 and then the decent name and stuff, which I just find kind of easy and simple and clear. Visualizer, which is obviously, we all know visualizer. If we go to test connection, it's going to go connection successful, so it's actually connected, and I can upload stuff. I can upload all my shots or as manually as I want. Upload settings, edit after the shot, gives you a whole bunch of options of what to do with that. AI allows you to enter your data for your account that you have, if you've got an AI account. Some of these offer free ones or limited ones that you don't need to have a paid service. MQTT I haven't used at all, which is some remote type thing. Language and access, that's for obviously loads of different languages, but also accessibility it reads out the information for people that are impaired with sight. So it has all the sounds and stuff like that. And about is for your firmware and for your software. It gives you kind of the update information, allows you to include beta versions when you're downloading, when you're updating. So there we go. I kind of have a quick run through of that. I'm gonna show you the web interface, but very, very, very fantastic software in my opinion. So as if all that exciting stuff wasn't enough, let me have a look at this. There's this thing called screen copy. Basically allows you to completely control your DE1 from your computer. I don't know if, I guess it's available on Mac as well as PC, but this is on my Windows computer. So I've got this little file on my desktop, and I double click on it, and it starts up this thing called SCRCPY. So I guess it's screen copy or something. But you can see this is now my DE1 sleeping over here. If I click on it, it's going to wake it up, and there you go. Now bear in mind this is over my Wi-Fi, so if you see ropiness on the interface, that's because it's kind of dealing with live seeing my tablet. So this is what you're seeing here is my tablet on my, but you're actually seeing it now on my Windows PC. So everything that I would normally click on, like shot review, for example, will take me to the shot review here, and I can have a look at stuff and rate it and speak to AI if I wanted to. I've got full control over my tablet as if I'm sitting at my tablet. So, yep, it's a wonderful little thing to be able to do. And if that wasn't exciting and enough, let me close that. Let me open up this web browser, regular old web browser. There it is there. And over here, this is just my personal start page. Here, I'm going to show you now the web app, which is a fantastic thing. So this is my D1, that's my other tablet, this is my PC, and I can do the same with all of them, but I'm just going to show you my actual tablet. So this is now connected to my tablet. It's got the temperature and the milliliters that I've got left in my water and stuff, everything going on. And these are my most recent shots. So now I can actually look at these shots. There's a whole lot more I can do here, which I'm going to show you. But say, for example, let's look at these creminas over here. So let's choose 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, 5 cremina shots there, and I'm going to compare. And there they are. And if I move my cursor along here, you can see all these numbers, updating live. I can scroll down. You can see the stuff over here. You can see the grind settings, and you can compare the different flow rates and whatever else that they were at various points in the curve, which is kind of pretty cool. If you wanted to, for example, edit one of the shots, say for example, this is the one I've done recently now, and there was something I wanted to maybe edit about it, I can click on edit there, and it's going to allow me to add notes or make changes if I made some mistake and I wanted to just update the information from my remotely from any computer that has a browser. I can do that. So now let me show you the kind of the main all this other stuff. So this is shot history. Recipes allows you to add recipes and edit recipes. Beans does the same for beans. Equipment, it does the same for allowing you to choose your baskets and your grinder and whatever else, your burrs, whatever aspects of your equipment that you're going to change and you're going to be wanting to have it as part of a recipe. You can add those as little pills that you can apply. Remote control, I haven't really used. Oh, this is what I've just set up, the screen copy. So this is instructions to set up what I've just shown you about the screen copy thing. So that's just instructions, which I followed. AI connections, this is, I guess, AI connections. Download database, it does what it says it does. Upload screensaver media. So, for example, if you've got, like in my screensaver's got that customized DE1 interface. So that is actually something that I created on Photoshop and I just uploaded. Layout editor and theme editor are fantastic on this web browser. They're much more powerful than they are on the actual Decenza software on the tablet. They have just some more options, and it's just more kind of user friendly to be able to work on an interface this big and detailed. And you can create your themes, create your change the font sizes for every little aspect of the interface. I mean, I generally find keeping it under default is actually works best. And you can create different looks for your interface and apply them. There's funky green and pink, and there's all sorts of weird stuff that are going on here that I just fiddle with all these different colors and have a lot of fun. Then there's restore backup, download backup, restore backup, AI conversations, and debugging tools, which I guess are useful for if you're doing some bug testing, downloading your database, the log, APKs. Actually, I think in the actual shots themselves, you're able to, let's just go to shot history. So say, for example, this shot here, you can download the profile JSON, the shot JSON, and debug log. So super powerful, really, really fantastic. So there's basically 4 aspects now. So there's the actual software on your tablet. Then there's the remote ability to use it on your PC and see your interface from there. Then there's this web app which has all this customization and details that for backing up and stuff like that. And the last one is the mobile phone one, which I'll show you over here. Alrighty, so have a look at this. On my Android phone, I've got this widget over here, which when I tap it, it's going to start, the little widget goes green, means that the tablet's been taken out of standby and it's warming up, which is brilliant. I do that when I wake up, and by the time I get downstairs, the machine's nice and hot. Another thing is the actual app. So here's an app, and here's the remote, and it tells me that it's connecting, and now it's connected, and I can turn it off, or I can just let it carry on going. But the other thing is that it's got, you see the button, the remote control. Now if I tap a remote control, and you get this tiny little thing, but if I turn the phone horizontally, then I get a much bigger one. And that is the ability to completely control the tablet from my phone remotely. And obviously I can't run a shot because I got the group head, which requires me physically pushing the button. But I can do everything else. I can choose what recipe I'm going to be using. I can change settings, change grind settings, do all sorts of things. Look at my, for what it's worth, on a tiny little screen at my previous shot, and there it is. Yeah, so I can do a whole bunch of stuff, but otherwise back to vertical, and that's how I mostly use it, I suppose. But really with the widget, there's no real need because I've got the widget there telling me that I'm heating up right now. Alrighty, I want to stop heating up because it's way too late for a cup of coffee. But seriously, people, this is a fantastic app. You owe yourselves spending some time on this because it'll be really rewarding. I've found it to be by far the nicest interface I've come across yet on the Decent. Alrighty, so I think I'm going to go for the Zambian today. Alrighty, so Zambian recipe chosen, and now grab some beans, yummy, and then weighing 18 grams, grinding them at the 18.5 setting, using the Weber shaker, and then making sure portafilter's nice and dry, getting the grinds all DWT'd and a nice firm tamp. There you see how it goes. Now have a look at this function, which I absolutely love. What Decenza does, it not only shows you the stage that you're at, like soak now, it tells you the time exit. It tells you exactly what the reason for the move on is, which is brilliant if you want to know. I mean, it's never before have I seen an interface that does these things, like telling you that it's on what phase it's in right now, but also what the reason for moving on is. It's really, really excellent. I really love that. You can see my flow's too high. 2.1 milliliters per second is too high for a Cremina. So I'm a bit concerned about that. So it's hit the final weight. It stopped at weight, but I think it's ground a bit coarse. So I'm going to actually ask AI, what do you think of this shot of mine? And it will say, ooh. To fix this under extraction, bring a blah blah blah. Your setting's 18.5. Typical grinder setup is 0.5. So they're actually suggesting a one-step difference all the way down to 17.5. So it's actually suggesting an actual grind setting on my grinder, which it's learned to do, and it's probably pretty damn close to correct. So there we go. That's how this thing works, and it's pretty damn Senza. Well done, mate. Very, very well done. It just makes my life much easier, much more pleasant to work with, and here's to you.